Hello, welcome to my journey to the media world. Today we're here to bring you a match preview of St Mary's on the weekend. Once again, I'm joined by an opposition fan. This time I'm joined by Freddie from the Ugly Inside. First of all, Freddie, if you just want to tell us a bit about the channel and the stuff that you do with the Ugly Inside.
Sure. The Ugly Inside is a Southampton fan channel, fanzine, website, podcast, all of the above. And the Ugly Inside has been, operating since 1988 originally as a kind of paper-based fanzine stapled together by Clive and Nick in their living room, helped by their old dears. Sold at a magnificent £1 per magazine up until about the year 2000, which it went online to the website, which is still active now. And then since about 4 years ago now, we've been a YouTube channel, so giving Saints fans a voice on various different platforms.
That's brilliant, and I think it's so good that you kept that going for a number of years. If we talk about Southampton then, first of all, what's been your overall opinion on the season? Obviously, if we go back to that 9-0 v Leicester, obviously quite hard to take, but you've stuck with Ralph Hasenhüttl, and it's obviously paid off.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't mention it. It's a bit like the elephant in the room. Everybody who you speak to, they mentioned that result in October. But I think I've got to give credit to the board. You could have easily sort of pulled the trigger on Ralph's time at the club, but we stuck with him, and with a magnificent sort of form from the end of November through the Christmas period, which was double dangerous at the time. 2 games in a week over the course of December and into January. So we picked up a lot of form, but I guess mostly we are relying on our away form this season. Our home form has been dreadful. 11 points out of a possible from a possible, I think, 13 games played. So home is not where the heart is right now.
Well, that could possibly play in Villa's favour, or it could go possibly a different way, because our away form is dreadful. What do you think's changed from that 9-0 against Leicester?
Well, I think it's mostly the spirit. Ralph has really got the players playing for one another, and I think that was a wake-up call for everybody involved that night. We've gone away to places like Chelsea, got a result, beating Crystal Palace quite comfortably down away from home as well. And they're playing in a system now that everybody understands. We saw little cohesion at the start of the season. Ralph was regularly kind of chopping and changing the defence, the pairing up front. And of course, we're relying on Danny Ings to put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, so far this season, 15 goals in the Prem, 18 in all competitions. He is on fire.
Yeah, well, I'm going to mention Danny Ings there. What have Villa got to do to stop him, or can we stop him?
Well, I mean, Danny Ings, he scores all sorts of goals. Left foot, right foot, drills from outside the box, top corners, smash-ins from a yard. So I think you've got to really just step on his toes, just stop him from actually moving, because he finds those little pockets of space. He's a smart striker. He ducks in between. He can flick it over the head of the defenders. He can give the eyes to the goalkeepers. So I guess one thing for us this season, fortunately, we've managed Danny Ings' fitness. So perhaps the tactics would to employ to stand on his toes and stop him from moving.
If we move on to the game v Aston Villa, where does it rank for you in terms of importance?
Well, I think we're currently 5-6 points above you, and you're just sitting outside the drop zone. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, 17.
But yeah, so should we win, that opens up a nice cushion for us. 9 points, that'll give us 34 points on the table, and somewhat. I guess to some extent we can also see the finish line. I think the target is 40 points, as it is of almost every club to kind of, for their objective first and foremost. So another couple of wins, including this game at the weekend, and I think we should see ourselves safe and then see the next objective to push on to the top half of the table. But of course, Aston Villa won't be an easy game. They gave us a good, competition in December. Players like Jack Grealish who can always score from anywhere. So I think it's important to win at the weekend, not only to give a bit of confidence back to the players and also breathe a bit of life into the home support.
Yeah, well, I think you're a prime example from Villa's point of view. Is that you only need to get a couple of wins and you can find yourself moving up the table, and you look where you are now, you're mid-table 12th. So I think both sides will be going there looking to get all 3 points. You mentioned the game against Aston Villa. I was very frustrated having lost to Jude purely because of the defence. 2 balls over the top, I think, was it Shane Long that scored and Danny Ings?
Yeah, so Shane Long opened the scoring. I think the goalkeeper, Heaton, pushed it into the path of Shane Long to tap in from a couple of yards out. And then it was a kamikaze ball from your defender. I can't remember the name, but Danny Ings, it was a nice little swivel and shot, and it fired past Heaton.
Yeah, well, I'm still coming to terms with the Tottenham result. Very hard one to take. But again, defence was at fault again, so it's been a problem all season. I think we've conceded, that was our 50th goal this season, so the defence is one thing that you might possibly look at to get out. How do you think that will work in terms of your attack?
So I think should we use the game in December as an example? We need to get in between the defenders. I mean, from what I can understand, Tyrone Mings is a doubt for the weekend. Obviously missed the Tottenham game. I think it was a huge miss for you, against the likes of Ali and Son, etc. So Mings is, I guess, an advantage for us with him being missing. He's a big, bullish sort of defender, no nonsense. I guess kind of really. Characterising Aston Villa in that respect, playing shirt. So should we have have little relationship with each other, I think we can exploit that. So I can't even name the other defenders. I think you've got Engels, who scored the weekend, but I can't name any others.
Yeah, Ezri Konza and Courtney Howes. I think we'll play a black back 3. I can't remember if we were playing. No, we weren't playing a back 3 when we were playing you. It was a back 4. So a little bit of a different system. I mentioned there about Mings coming out injured. What is the team news ahead of from Southampton's side of things? Obviously, we haven't got any press conferences, so we're not sure.
Yeah, so Nathan Redmond's huge miss for us at the weekend, and Ralph ruled him out up to 2 months. So that's a huge blow. He pulled out of training on Thursday evening or Friday, whenever it was, with a muscle injury. So he's been important in the last sort of 6-7 weeks, getting on the score sheet, finding a bit of rhythm. And he's been a bit of a slow burner this season. He had a bit of criticism up until around sort of November time, then suddenly hit a bit of form, found his tracks. So him being missing at the weekend is going to be a huge blow to us. So Boufal may replace him, which he did at the weekend, but a bit like him and Gineppo, they're impact players, and I'm not sure they can have the consistency over 90. And if it's fair, the weather's fair at the weekend, I think Boufal and Gineppo might do well. They struggled at the weekend against Burnley in the conditions.
Yeah, well, I think that will move us on nicely to team news. Would you feel comfortable predicting your starting 11?
Well, I think you won't see too many changes. As I said earlier, Ralph is starting to build a bit of rhythm and an understanding and a relationship between most of the 11. So I think we'll see McCarthy in goal. We'll probably see Walker-Peters, who made his debut for Saints at the weekend. I think he struggled a little bit against the bullish Burnley attackers, but he's probably going to play at right back. Left back would be Ryan Bertrand. We'll see Jack Stevens, who's come into his own, really improved this season too. Not afraid to get up the pitch too, taking on players. Strangely, he played Vestergaard against Burnley at the weekend, but we've mostly seen Stevens' partner Bednarek. So I expect Bednarek to return. Midfield of Ward-Prowse and Højbjerg. Let's go right midfield of Stuart Armstrong, industrious player, not afraid to get up and down both sides of the pitch to defend and attack. It's got some good goals this season too. And let's go left midfield let's mix it up with Moussa Gineppo. And up front, I think he's got to stick with Danny Ings and Shane Long.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned Danny Ings there. Apart from Danny Ings, who are the players that Villa should look out for?
I think one man who perhaps goes under the radar is James Ward-Prowse this season. He again, last season he was probably the most improved player, and this season he's taken one step ahead as well. So he's improved hugely this season. He's got a nasty side to him now too. Not afraid to get stuck in, not afraid to crunch into tackles, not afraid to take yellow cards for the team. Yeah. so he knows what to do. And of course has a fantastic delivery on sort of free kicks and corners. So look out for those whips on the set pieces. And I mentioned about Jack Stephens as well. I mean, he's become a little bit of a leader recently. Taking the advancing with the ball. Organising his peers, his teammates in defensive situations. So those are the two that probably go under the radar, and perhaps those two that stick out for me.
Yeah. Well, James Ward-Prowse is that type of player that you sometimes need in the midfield. I'm going to go ahead and predict very quickly Villa's lineup. So in goal, I'm going to go with Pepe Reina. Very experienced goalkeeper and was probably my man of the match against Tottenham Hotspur. Back three, like I say, different formation, 3-4-3 from the last time we played you. I'm going to go with Engels, Ezri Konza and Courtney House once again. That defence, like I say, shaky without Tyrone Mings, no real leader in the middle of that back three. The two holding midfielders, I'm going to go with Marvelous Nakamba, and I want to see Conor Horahan, but personally I think we'll see Douglas Luiz. Left wing back, Matty Targett, obviously former Saints man, returning back to St Mary's. Right wing back, Frederick Gilbert. The wingers, I'm going to go with Anwar El Ghazi and Jack Grealish, who I'm sure you'll have every single player around him. He's our star man at the moment. And then striker, Ali Samata. Just want to touch on Matty Targett there. What reception do you feel he'll get coming back to St Mary's?
Yeah, I think we'll get a nice reception, actually. One of our own, in fact, born up the road in Eastleigh, and actually came back last weekend to watch, to support his brother and watching the local Sholing team. Yeah. So good to see him, stay true to his roots. I think we'll get a good reception. I guess at the time we sort of had to take that money for him because he was always going to be second choice to Ryan Bertrand, and it's great to see him kind of nail down that first team place for Aston Villa. I'd like to see him go on to do well, but of course not too well at the weekend.
And I mentioned Jack Grealish there, our star man, dribbler of the ball, draws a lot of fouls. How do you feel Southampton can cope with that?
Well, we sort of coped with it to some extent in the December game, but then he could just sort of pick the ball out of nowhere and score. So I've got to try and keep him quiet. I mean, like I mentioned with Danny Ings, perhaps we just got to stand on his toes, stop him from actually moving about, stop his rhythm. But again, he's a game changer. So I think if we employed the likes of Jack Stephens, Bednarek to crunch in to settle down Jack Grealish's movement and advancement, and get Ward-Prowse to man marking perhaps. So interesting duel, I think we're going to see at the weekend. Grealish versus Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, very finally, just want to wrap it up. What is your score prediction and anything else you want to add about the game?
So I mean, last week I guess we predicted a home win against Burnley, but they played to the conditions. I'm not the Met Office right now, but hopefully it is going to be fair, and we might do well at home. And as I said earlier, the home form has been horrible this season. 11 points so far. Should we get a win, I think that will bring a bit of confidence back to the home support. I think there'll be goals, and I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to say what I said last weekend, and I'll go for a Danny Ings double with Saints to win 2-1.
Okay. I'm going to go with, I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet either. I mentioned that. Sluggish defence there. I'm going to go with the other side of it. I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa, and I'm going to go with Jack Grealish to score and Alisson Mata to get his third goal of the season. Thank you so much for coming on, Freddie. It's a pleasure to have a chat with you. Hopefully you're not the one that comes out victorious on the weekend. And yeah, thank you for coming on to the channel.
No problem. All the best.
Thanks. If you did enjoy the video, guys, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new, and also go and check out the Ugly Inside. I'll leave the links in the description, as always. And yeah, until next time, goodbye. Up the Villa.
Hit the subscribe button and follow my journey to the media world. Click the video choices on screen to see more of my work.